I was on a bus in Toronto and a passenger loaded late and glared at the driver with pure, silent judgment. We've seen that look before, but the driver didn't apologize. He looked right at her in her eyes and said in these 7 words that stopped me in my tracks. "You don't know why I'm late?" In business, we act to the surface, but legit leadership requires seeing the story underneath. Empathy isn't a soft skill, it's your greatest competitive edge. Stop performing judgment and start transforming your influence. Listen to this episode of the Legit Mindset Podcast now. I'm Curtis McCullom. Be legit. I was on vacation in Toronto a few years back, watching a scene play out that we've all been a part of. A tour driver was waiting for a passenger who was kind of running late. And we finally got to the next stop. A young lady stepped onto the bus and she glared at him. That look that says, "Why are you late?" The driver didn't apologize. He looked her right in her eyes and said, "You don't know why I am late." That hit me. How often do we judge a situation, a delay, a person's attitude without having a single clue what's actually happening behind the scene? Every success story has a chapter most people never hear. That's the one between the breakdown and the breakthrough. Welcome to the Legit Mindset Podcast, where we talk about those hidden chapters, the failures, the lessons, and the breakthroughs that make success real. I'm Curtis McCullom, certified clinical hypnotherapist, founder of Bespoke Human Potential Coaching, and the creator of the Legit Mindset. Welcome to the show. Today we'll be talking about the power of the unseen story and why true empathy is your greatest competitive edge. Why does this matter? In high-level leadership, because we live in a reaction economy. Someone misses a deadline or their tone is short in an email. You can look at an email or a text saying that something is wrong with that. And our brain immediately fills that blank with the assumption. Usually, the thing about that assumption is negative. We forget the timeless wisdom of Stephen Covey, where he says, "Seek first to understand, then to be understood." Most of us are so busy trying to be right or be heard that we never actually see the person in front of us. Trust me, guys. I'm so guilty of this. I've done this many, many, many years, and sometimes even I forget now, and my wife reminds me of this. So it's not something that we have to really be cognizant of and really start to focus on. And when you lead with awareness that you don't know why, you move from a place of friction to a place of true influence. See, empathy isn't just a soft skill. It's the ability to maintain your alignment when the world around you is out of sync. That's the really true power of understanding this empathy. Now, let's break this down. Let's break it down through the legit mindset with some real depth. The learning is recognizing your own projection. When you glare at that driver, you aren't reacting to him. You are reacting to your own internal map of how you see the world or how you think that the world should work. You're learning that your irritation is actually about you and about them. I want to talk about that just a little bit more. Your projection, what you're projecting, your perception of the world becomes your projection. Meaning, like what you see sometimes in others is actually what's inside of you. And that's a powerful learning, knowing and understanding that that glare or that reaction to the internal map, in NLP, we call that the map is not the territory. And one of the other things that I teach too is that I always have to respect a other person's model of the world because I don't know their model. I know my model. I know what I stand for, but I can respect theirs. So when we walk up to someone and when we're doing something, sometimes the projection is actually coming out from us is what we see within ourselves. That's powerful. Then we talk about growing. Growing is releasing. And this is the hard part. It's catching that flash of anger and choosing curiosity instead of judgment. That's powerful because there's always going to be a trigger. So we have to kind of catch that trigger before the trigger. When you feel that the trigger is about to be triggered, lack of a better term, we have to catch it. Instead of judgment, let's have some curiosity. So you're growing by releasing the need. You're releasing the need for everyone else to be perfect so that you can feel okay. So it's not about them, it becomes about you. You want to feel okay, so you project out to them what you want instead of basically growing and releasing the fact that it's not all about you, that you're not perfect either. And if we can just stop and catch that flash of anger, right? And just have that judgment of curiosity, that would be a powerful stand. Because then we move into expanding. Expanding is perspective. This is where the world gets bigger. You realize that every person you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. And I'm telling you guys, we don't know what's going on in a person's life. You don't know where they are on their journey. You don't know what just happened to them. You don't know. So sometimes when people cut us off, we talked about this before, some people cut us off and then we go off on them. You don't know where they are on their journey. So it's always better just to kind of stop and expand your awareness and realize that expanding your perspective, that the world gets so bigger, you start realizing that every person you meet, everybody you meet is going through something. And the expanding means that you can now lead a more diverse team because you aren't trying to make them clones of yourself. Because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what just happened at home. You don't know some things, those little things and you don't know the things that have kind of piled up in a person's life that's making them feel or having this irritation today. So it's always stop. Then you're transforming. The transforming is the integration. This is when empathy becomes your default mode. You stop being a reactor who is triggered by every delay and start being a responder. You integrate the lessons until you become the calmest person in the room. And that's what leadership is all about, is that you're controlling their environment. If you are always overreactive, that means your team is going to be overreactive. You go home, you're overreactive. That means your spouse and your partner is overreactive. Your kids are overreacting. Just stop, because you don't know what's going on in the world. So when you can integrate these things within yourself, you become a better person. When you become a better person, your projection changes, your perception of the world changes, and your projection also changes. That means you have a better influence on the world. This episode is sponsored by Bespoke Human Potential Coaching. If you find yourself constantly reacting to people around you, it's time to look inside that invisible pattern underneath. We help you move from surface level reaction to deep level transformation. Visit Bespoke Human Potential Coaching today and book your free 15-minute clarity call. In the corner of my website, right on the corner, you'll see book your free clarity call. Yeah, let's get to know each other. Let's have a cup of coffee. Let's make your next breakthrough legit. Now let's get back to the show. So now, how do we apply the Toronto lesson this week? The first thing we can do is the 3-second gap. When someone triggers you, give yourself 3 seconds before you speak or glare. And in those 3 seconds, say to yourself, I don't know the whole story. So number one, the 3-second gap. Someone glares at you. You stop. 1, 2, 3. And just sit with it because you don't know the whole story. You don't know their whole story. Number two, ask the curiosity question. Instead of saying, why are you late? And I know I've been guilty of this. And I stopped doing this. I really did. I stopped doing this a few years back now. It's been a few years back because what we learned in my house is that once we went through the loss of my son is that everything else really doesn't matter. It really doesn't. I mean, the whole scheme of things, appointments late. I mean, I used to be like furious when a person misses an appointment or a person is late. I was brought up in a culture where you said, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. And so that was my world. So I was projecting on other individuals. But this is what I'm saying is change the perception. Instead of you saying, why are you late? Try, is everything okay? And this happened even the other day. One of my best clients, they didn't show up for the appointment, never missed an appointment, never been late for a session. And all of a sudden they missed an appointment. Well, instead of me reacting, I responded. I'm like, hey, is everything okay? And what I found was everything was not okay. There was something happening in their lives right then and right there that they needed to take care of. But what happens when you respond like that is asking, is everything okay or are you okay? It changes the frequency of the entire interaction. You just try that. The curiosity question is instead of asking them why, ask them, are you okay or is everything okay? And number 3, check your baggage. If you are acting to a minor delay is a 10, meaning like they're 15 minutes late, you like, boom, ready to cuss them out. You're ready to fire them. You're ready to do something really crazy. That's your baggage. That's not theirs. Just not their delay. Use that moment to ask yourself, to ask your subconscious mind this. What do I need to do to release this? Because that's way off. Just the other day, I was wrong. I changed telephone plans and people don't sometimes always tell the truth. And that's for some reason that really bugs me. And then when I got ready to actually confront them, even though I was in the right, I felt myself like going up and I'm like, I caught myself and asked myself, okay, what do I need to release? Because this is not a normal way to react to a situation like this. Because at the end of the day, a couple $100 is not a big deal, but I was reacting as though it was like life or death, and it wasn't. I was really going to fight or flight. And so I had to ask myself this question, what is it I need to release? Because I need to release something because that's some baggage that I'm carrying there. So number 1, first, to have the 3-second gap. When someone triggers you, you give them 3 seconds before you speak or that glare. And then in those 3 seconds, ask yourself, I don't really know the whole story. Number 2 is ask the curiosity question. Instead of why they're late, ask, is everything okay? And number 3, check your baggage. If your reaction to a minor delay is at a 10, that's your baggage. What happens if you allow yourself to seek to understand first? You become unshakable. You stop losing energy to other people's lateness and bad moods. When you realize that you don't know why someone else or someone is doing what they're doing, you give them and yourself the grace to be human. Take a moment. Take a moment this week and ask yourself this. Where in my life am I performing judgment instead of transforming through empathy? Because that awareness, that's where real change begins. Ready to move from performing to transforming? Visit my website, Bespoke Human Potential Coaching, and book that free clarity call. It's free. It's an opportunity for us to get to know each other and to connect. And call today. If this message resonated, share with the leader who needs a reminder to lead with the heart. This is the Legit Mindset Podcast. Failures, lessons, and breakthroughs. I'm Curtis McCullom. Be legit.